Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Welcome to 2024. 2024. So, I hope everybody had a great New Year's Eve party somewhere, anywhere, even if it was in your home. I mean, doesn't it seem to, I don't know about you guys, but have you noticed that there seems to be more of a decline in people wanting to have a really big celebration for New Year's? I mean, it seems like over time, the whole concept of standing out in the middle of the cold, well, especially around here in Bangor, standing out in the middle of the street with paper being dumped all over your head for just a few minutes, and then you have to go home. I mean, does it really seem like it's worth it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, in this day and age where you got, so much, gun shootings and things like that happening around you, I mean, it's almost like it's too much of a danger. But I mean, I feel like it's really kind of a, kind of a somber event. I mean, it's not like we have we're turning a millennium every New Year's or something. It's just a New Year's party, for a year, and like I said, it doesn't seem like it's really like such a big thing, but some places make a lot out of it. I don't know. But every time I talk to somebody about it, I said, "Did you watch the ball drop in New York?" And they're like, "Nah, I didn't watch it," and I went to bed early, and I was too tired, and I figured I'd watch the ball drop in England because they're 3 hours ahead of us. So it's like, people are really not, like they used to be. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I mean, it seemed like everybody was watching the ball drop in New York. Even the people on the West Coast would be watching. It was a big event. Everybody would be watching, and it was just incredible, But these days, it's like it's optional now, and it's like it's not such a tradition anymore. And people would just rather get shit-faced and, and not show up for work the next day or something. It's just really not it ain't the big thing it used to be, and maybe that's because, back in the day when I was growing up, we were getting closer and closer to the end of the millennium, and so it was like, we were kind of in our minds counting down, but, right now, it's like a lot of us ain't going to be around to see another millennium change. So, anyway, here I was sitting there talking about the safety of being out there in public to celebrate, and some article showed up today on the AP that said police in Perry, Iowa, said there was a shooting at their high school, and that was their first day back to class after their holiday break. Jesus, they didn't miss a beat, boy, did they? They found a couple of multiple gunshot victims, but it's unclear how many people were injured. And happened this morning, I guess. But it's sad, isn't it? I mean, they tell you this story, but it kind of gets covered over with something happening overseas, you know, in Israel or Ukraine or something like that. And it feels like these are just normal things that we're going to have to put up with or tolerate, you know, every year. And it's sad that it's come to that, you know. I feel like, you know, what are we going to do? I mean, what does it really have to take to wake people up in this country to just say, look, we've got more dead people from school shootings than we lost total in troops in Vietnam. You know, how many more are we going to have to lose before we say, you know, hey, you know, this problem is like the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads here. We're going to be held accountable for not doing anything to save our kids. When the time comes to meet our maker, he's going to ask us, what the hell were you thinking? You know, do you really think you deserve to get on the other side of that gate? Right? You know, I mean, if these evangelical ministers out there think along lines like that, which they do, then how would they answer me there on that? You know, how we just sit back and let, you know, things happen, deadly things happen every day in this country, and nobody wants to take any action about it. But you talk about abortion and everybody wants to get up and take action over that. You know, it's like, well, look, if you're protecting life, then you got to protect it no matter who it is or what it is, right? You know, you thank your veterans when they come back from war. Okay, that's nice too. But why is it you guys, you know, always looking to cut their budget all the fucking time, you know? And, you know, I feel like, you know, there's a double standard in this country, just like we have in our justice system. You know, people will only respect life when it matters to them personally, okay? When it does something for them in return. But just saying blindly, I care about life, doesn't mean anything coming out of their mouth, because they don't back that up. Okay, there's always a caveat hidden in their words, and the thing is that in this situation, that caveat has been causing a lot of death in this country for over 30, 35 years, maybe longer. I think probably 40 years. But we've let this thing go on for a long time, and it's just, you know, I feel like, you know, maybe our society just isn't smart enough to deal with that. You know, maybe we're just too dumb to understand the common sense of it all. Some of us do understand. I don't want to speak in general terms. Some of us do understand the reason behind, you know, compassion for all life. And you know, there's people out there that just cannot grasp that concept. They can't. They don't know what that is. They don't understand what that is. And these people live in a world all of their own creation. Unfortunately, in this situation, we're forced to live in that with them. You know what I'm saying? We have to live with the people who want guns on the street, because the rest of us aren't being heard. The reason why we have to be forced to live in their world is because money is what encircles their world. Okay? People are getting rich off the killings of all the kids in schools and stuff because, hey, that's buying guns. And the more guns that these people buy, that's more money for them. But they don't care what happens when those guns are sold. Hey, it's all on you, you know. Go have fun, you know. When something happens like what happened today, they just disappear. They vanish. They don't even talk to any reporters or anybody like that to, like, you know, ask, don't even look at us, you know. They don't care. You know, and you know, there used to be a time in this country when things were sold to people, and the people selling things to you gave a shit about how you were doing with the stuff that you bought. I mean, I remember when my parents would buy like a brand new car or something, and this was here in Bangor. I was at Van Sickle Motors over here. Bought an Audi 80 back in the 1980s, okay? And my father really liked that car. It was the first brand new car that he got when we moved back to Maine. And he couldn't say enough about it. And him and the guy that sold it to him, I mean, they became sort of like buddies, because he they talk and ask him, well, how you doing with the car, Galen? You know, and how is everything going good with it? And my father said, ain't got no complaints. That damn thing is rock solid, you know. And he loved that car, you know. But the guy that sold him was interested in seeing if that car was doing what he told him it would do. You know, if there was any problems with it, he'd say, yeah, bring it down. We'll look at it, you know. But the guy wouldn't, you know, just wouldn't, you know, lose after he sold it. He'd just disappear. No, he was interested in seeing how you were with that item. That's the way things used to be, you know, when you would buy stuff like that. Or if you know, anything, you know, people wouldn't just disappear on you after they made their sale, okay? But today, it's like, you know, it seems like everybody that wants to sell you something, automatically you think it's a scam because they don't care. Once you buy the thing, they just disappear, you know, and if anything goes wrong with it, don't come to me, you know, that's the automotive part. You know, they don't want to deal with you after that. And there's no interest in customer satisfaction. All they care about is that getting that money, getting the goddamn money. That's all they care about. And that's what this is right here with the gun problem here. They don't care about what happens to those guns once you buy them, okay? They don't care. Their name doesn't have to prominently be displayed anywhere in the sale, okay? And they aren't held accountable for things that these guns are used in crimes and stuff like that. They don't care. They just do not care. So when somebody goes into a gun shop and they buy, you know, the most expensive gun that there is that they can get their hands on, you know, like these 8Rs and stuff, you know, you think the guy that sold it to him is going to care how much you like that gun? No. Once you're out the door and he's sitting there, he's got the money in his hand. They don't care. So there's no interest in seeing, you know, how they're doing with it or what's going to happen with it. And, you know, if somebody comes into their store and says a gun sold here was involved in a crime, they're like, hey, you know, they all back off, okay? And so, to me, it seems like our society has gotten so callous, you know, and it shows a lot when we see incidents like this happen that, you know, even the press don't even take much interest in that anymore. Okay, I mean, how many people even knew a shooting even happened today? You know, I go to different places online to get news. That stuff isn't really shown on the TV, which is where a lot of people today get their news. They don't even read the paper anymore, for that matter. But a lot of people just get their stuff on the television because, you know, it's fed to them in 30 minutes or less, and that's all they want. They don't want to actually sit down, take the time, and read the article. And understand things better. And so the media has to deal with that kind of audience. They have to pick things that are going to grab people's attention, which usually is the mundane, you know, the gossip. That's all people care about. When it comes to crime and stuff like that, people just mentally tune out. They don't care, you know. They have their generalizations about what they see concerning crime, and that's all they care about. You know, they don't. But you know, it's really weird. You know how it's gotten to this point. And if somebody were to have come to me about 40 years ago or something and said, hey, you know what's going to happen 40 years from now? There's going to be killings all over this country in schools everywhere. You know, kids are going to get shot all over the place, and the government's not going to do anything about it. The police won't be able to do anything about it. People will get arrested and put in jail, but the prisons are going to get overloaded, and the shootings will continue. I would say, you're fucking nuts. You know, who you think you are, Nostradamus or something? You know, I'd have just laughed my head off. You know, I never would have believed that. You know. I'd figure, why would people especially kids, why would kids how would they get their hands on guns and bring them to school without getting caught and just whip them out and start shooting people at random and nobody does anything to stop them? How's that even possible? You know what I'm saying? Nobody could ever wrap their mind around a concept like that. We would actually have to come to this point through the years and understand how deteriorated our society has become. You know, how callous we've come to violence. You know, I mean, is it because we fight in so many wars or something that, you know, it's constantly in our face? You know, we're always going through hard times with, you know, people putting their life on the line, that it's incumbent on us, it's expected of us in life that, you know, we're going to get shot or something like that, because we're, you know, we're always, you know, up to our necks in violence. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. People have for years have been trying to figure this out. You know, why are we so different from the rest of the world when it comes to these gun crimes? Why are we the ones that are so insane and obsessed with guns that we don't even give a shit about how many kids get killed in school, as long as we can continue to buy our guns because, hey, it says in the Second Amendment, you know, like where, it says in the Second Amendment we're supposed to have them. And for years they've been able to get away with that lie about how what the Second Amendment really says. They've been able to get away with that, and they've convinced a lot of people that that's the truth. You know, when probably a lot of them never actually sat down and read it, the Second Amendment, and see what it really does say in there. I mean, the word militia apparently doesn't mean anything to these people, okay? But it's there, okay? And they don't really think about, you know, well, what was going on at the time this was written. You know, there was probably a lot of things that were put in the Constitution that were more appropriate for the era that it was written in than it is for today. You know, but, you know, we got a lot of things going on right now that are being rewritten in people's minds and reinterpreted as well. You know, especially when it comes to abortion and stuff like that. You know, everybody's got their own view on it, but a lot of people are trying to share the same lopsided view about, you know, how abortion needs to be banned. You know, like, let's stop, let's not do any more fireworks anymore. You know, you can't just ban something like that. I mean, you can't just shut it off like it's a goddamn light switch. You know, these are people's health issues. I mean, you know, if a woman has a choice to make, and that's the choice she's got to make for what benefits her, then who the hell are you? Are you a doctor? You got a doctor next to your fucking name? Did you go to school to be a doctor? Huh? You know better than the guy that's examining her and saying, well, this has got to happen, otherwise. Okay, you know how do people who don't have any medical background able to make judgments like this about huge swaths of the public? I don't know. Let's go to a commercial break.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back. So, ABC News had put out a report here a few hours ago about that was something that was found here on Trump. It says here, former President Trump's businesses received millions of dollars from foreign entities during his presidency, according to a report released Thursday by House Democrats. The top Democrat on the Oversight Committee provided documents from Trump's former accounting firm that showed that 20 governments, including China and Saudi Arabia, paid at least $7.8 million during Trump's presidency to business entities that included Trump International Hotels. Okay. The 156-page report by House Democrats is entitled White House for Sale. In the foreword to the report, Raskin wrote, quote, by elevating his personal financial interests and the policy priorities of corrupt foreign powers over the American public interest, former President Trump violated both the clear commands of the Constitution and the careful precedents set and observed by every previous commander-in-chief. Unquote. The report says that according to, quote, limited records, unquote, obtained by the committee, Saudi Arabia likely paid Trump-owned businesses at least $615,422 during Trump's first term in office. Quote, while the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was making these payments, President Trump chose Saudi Arabia as the destination of his first overseas trip, a choice that was unprecedented among U.S. presidents, unquote, the report said. The report also claims that the payments violated the Constitution's Foreign Emoluments Clause, a rule that bars the president and other federal officials from accepting money or gifts from foreign governments without congressional approval. Quote, through entities he owned and controlled, President Trump accepted at a minimum millions of dollars in foreign emoluments in violation of the United States Constitution, unquote, Democrats wrote in the report. Quote, the documents obtained from former President Trump's accounting firm demonstrate that 4 Trump-owned properties together collected at least millions of dollars in payments from foreign governments and officials that violated the Constitution's prohibition on emoluments of any kind whatever from foreign governments, unquote. In a statement to ABC News, Eric Trump, the former president's son, who helps run the Trump Organization, said the House Democrats, quote, narrative is insane, unquote, citing profits that Trump voluntarily donated to the Treasury Department to offset his business earnings from foreign entities. Quote, we do not have the ability or viability to stop someone from booking through third parties, Expedia, etc., hence the voluntary donation of profits, which has been covered ad nauseum, unquote, Eric Trump said. Quote, that narrative is insane, especially given there is no president in United States history who was tougher on China than Donald Trump, a president who introduced billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs on their goods and services, unquote. ABC News reported in 2018 that Trump had voluntarily donated $151,470 to the U.S. Treasury, which a Trump organization attorney said, quote, fulfills our pledge to donate profits from foreign government patronage at our hotels and similar business during President Trump's term in office, unquote. However, government ethics watchdogs questioned the amount of the donation, saying the methodology used did not require the Trump organization to account for revenues earned from foreign government patrons of unprofitable Trump properties. In 2021, the U.S. Supreme Court dismissed lawsuits accusing Trump of profiting from his presidency on the grounds that he is no longer in office. So, you know, after this report came out, the apologists are already out there for him. Some right off the bat echoing things that Trump says, like, this is fake news, okay? It's bullshit. Then they say, oh, well, look, Obama got rich while he was president. And, you know what I'm saying? It's this whataboutism that comes out of the right wing whenever something dirty is found out, again, about Trump. They're missing the point, okay? If they bother to read the whole article, this is about how foreign money was influencing our president at the time, okay? Regardless of how he was treating China, okay? That all could have been just for show, because nothing ever come out of it, right? And the fact is, you know, it wasn't just China, okay? We know he had dealings with Russia. We know he had dealings with Saudi Arabia. These are all countries that aren't like particularly friendly with us, okay? But he was sitting here making money off of these fuckers while he was in office. Now, if that doesn't scream, you know, outside interference in our system of government, I don't know what does. You know, think about it. There's a reason why we have laws like that in place, just to protect our leaders from outside influences trying to usurp our country. Of course, what they didn't think back then was that, you know, we got influences inside our country trying to usurp our government right now. It doesn't have to be foreign. It's also domestic. But we're talking about foreign here. And seeing how the maggots out there don't seem to find anything wrong with that, but they would if Trump was a Democrat. What they're doing is just partisan bullshit, okay? These people don't even have a leg to stand on to boost their argument to make any sense, okay? Because they just as easily tear Trump apart, just, you know, because he's a Democrat for doing it. But like I said, these people don't care about the details behind this story. They don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it. They just figure, oh, it's all witch hunting, okay? That's how they whitewash it. That's how that's the other way they use denial, okay? They live in denial. And as long as they can find some way to, you know, shoot it out of the sky in whatever way they can, that's how they deal with all these stories that come out about Trump and what that get found about him and what he was doing while he was president. I mean, look, let me say this. We all saw the hearings, at least I think we all saw them anyway. We watched them. We saw the evidence that was presented to show that Trump wasn't a good man, that he instigated a goddamn insurrection in this country, and he went and sat down in the White House with a bowl of popcorn and a fucking TV and sitting there laughing about it, okay? And the government was looking to him to stop it, and he's like, fuck you, you know, I'm watching it. You know, he don't care. He did not care then. He didn't care about this country. He didn't care about the collapse of the government. He didn't care about any of that stuff. He just sat there and laughed. Okay, that's all he did. Then he tried to get people to go after our vice president. You know, kill him, do something, you know, get rid of him. He was going to, you know, allow this crowd out there to go hunt down Nancy Pelosi and everybody else, and he wasn't going to stop it. No, It wasn't going to stop it. So it mattered not to him. And because it did matter to him, it didn't matter to anybody else that followed him, okay? They figured, well, he's sitting there letting it happen, so let's keep doing it. You know, monkey see, monkey do. You know, these people are worse than robots. You know, sometimes you don't have to tell people to do something in order for them to get the message that you should do it. Okay? A lot of people will just reach into their own mind to draw a conclusion. And it's funny how everybody at the same time drew the same conclusion about let's march onto the Capitol. He didn't have to tell people to go march on the Capitol. They just knew that's what he meant. Okay? There's a lot of ways you can influence people to do something without using your mouth. Okay? Now I think about the, what was that? Hold on a second. Okay, let me tell you something about, you know, influencing people to do things, okay? Do you remember that case that happened about 5 years ago here? A girl named Michelle Carter, who, through using texts, encouraged a guy who was, you know, his name was Conrad Roy, who was going through some troubled problems, and he was her boyfriend, okay? And she was sitting here egging him on to kill himself through the text messages, and he did, okay? He went and he suffocated himself using carbon monoxide poisoning from his pickup. You know, you run a hose from that to the, you know, okay, so he finally did it. He was struggling with depression. He had problems. He was on pills and stuff for it. And when he was feeling down, he's talking to her, and she's telling him things, not, you know, not so much flat out, but sort of saying, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, you know, and she wasn't even upset, which indicates that, you know, she herself had a mental problem. Okay, so you got two people with issues mentally, and one is encouraging the other to do something bad. Okay, why? Maybe she didn't want to be bothered with his problem, you know, and she probably figured out, you know, I'm just going to get rid of him, and that way he'll die, and then I won't have to worry about his stupid ass anymore. You know, that's probably what she was thinking, you know, and thinking, well, if he does it, it's not going to be blamed on me. She probably didn't think that, oh, the police are going to grab his phone and see, you know, what was going on. No, she was looking to get rid of a fucking headache that with her boyfriend that she didn't want to have. So she encourages him to kill himself when he has his down time in his life. Okay. And, you know, there was a whole bunch of texts that were brought up in the court over this thing, where if you read it, and I'm sure it's somewhere online where you can find these texts and stuff, you'll see that she doesn't really, how can I say it, just tell him you should kill yourself or something like that. You know, she doesn't really come out and say it like that, but the way she says things to him text-wise, it's like, you know, she's egging it on, sort of. You know, she's pushing him towards that direction. And he's just gullible enough to listen to her and keep doing what she's kind of hinting at him to, you know, to do. Okay. Well, I bring that up because I see Donald Trump having done pretty much the same thing on January the 6th. Okay. And when he was telling, you know, what was it, the Proud Boys to, you know, stand back and, you know, and be ready. Okay. That right there was another little hidden message to people to get ready. There's going to be some shit, you know what I'm saying? And there was a response from these people after that said, well, we got our orders from Trump to do this. We're going to do it. You know, basically, so they took the hint of what Trump was throwing at him. They understood what it meant, even though he didn't flat out said, okay, you guys get ready to riot on tomorrow. You know, he didn't say it that way. The way he said it was to tell these people to be ready. In other words, you know, they knew what he meant by be ready. Because he was talking about it the whole time about, you know, how this country is going to rise up here if they try to take the victory away from him, you know, and say, oh, well, you know, these people are going to riot and everything, and then he tells people to be ready. Okay, you got to put everything into context when he says stuff like that. Okay, you can't just take the phrase out of it and just assume that's what he was saying. You got to read the whole thing. Okay, and then you find out that, you know, he was actually telling these people, or given them permission in a way to be there on January 6th to go march on the Capitol. Okay, be ready for that. And of course they did come ready, right? They had weapons, they had all kinds of shit they found in their cars and stuff like that. And it was bad enough where people got killed, you know, and they were going to go all the way because they were too stupid to realize that, hey, you're not going to get too far before the goddamn military shows up and kicks all your asses out, you know. But no, they went ahead and they were going all the way because they figured the president told us we could do it, you know. And so they were out there doing this shit. Now, they put Michelle Carter, they found her guilty of basically, you know, talking this guy into killing himself. And they said it was a sick game she was playing, and you know, she was punished for it. And while she's sitting there crying, which, you know, that was something else people were saying. Michelle sitting there crying while the judge was, you know, basically, you know, giving, you know, telling her, you know, how rotten that was for her to do, and you know, she's acting like I'm going to take the blame for this and yada yada, you know, and you know, and all this stuff. But you know, it just felt like the reason she was crying was, I got caught, you know, nobody likes me, and now they're going to throw me in prison or something like that for what I did. And so she's sitting there crying about that, I think is what it was. She wasn't really crying that much at all during the trial as a whole. It only came at the end when the acts of justice came down on her head there, basically. So she was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. And, you know, I think, you know, what kind of punishment do you think Donald Trump should get for kind of doing the same thing? Only he wasn't asking people to kill themselves. He was asking people to storm onto the Capitol, an insurrection. Well, they sentenced Michelle to 15 months in prison. Well, they gave her 2.5 years, but she only served 15 months is what happened, okay? And she filed for an appeal, but that was rejected. But they punished her for it, okay? And that was for involuntary manslaughter. Now, when we're talking about the country, okay, an insurrection, and him basically egging on an insurrection, don't you think that having his name off the ballot is sort of a slap on the hand by comparison? You know, I mean, I would say that, hey, look, if all they did to him for doing that was say you can't have your name on ballots in any of the states to run for president, you know, you just can't run for president, that would be like, okay, so I won't be running for president, but I'll still have my freedom and all that. They won't take it away. You know, even though his insurrection got other people dead, that would be a slap on the wrist in comparison, okay? To actually sentence him to prison would probably be an impossibility, you know, to have him in there for any time at all. So he would look forward to just getting away with something like that, or just walking away from it, you know, with his freedom intact. So it's not like him not being able to run for president would be such a bad thing, you know, seeing how, you know, he's still got money, but he's still got other cases he's got to deal with. That would be just one thing. But he ain't going to be out of the fire yet, even after that's settled. But I'm just saying that, you know, all they could probably do to him is that he can't run for president. Okay? Well, that would piss off his followers, but they should be happy to know that, oh, well, he could still go out there and give speeches and shit like that, and shit all over the whoever's running for president whenever he wants. Okay? So, you know, what would be better? You know, what would be better for you? You know, have him run for president and lose, okay, or not have him run for president, but still be out there speaking on behalf of your group, okay? Speaking on behalf of your group. You know, to me, I think, you know, for them, the best bet would be just to accept that he cannot run for president and just say fine, you know, but that doesn't mean he's out of the picture. You know, he's still got influence for, you know, to do things or say things that he wants to the voters and stuff like that. He could still, you know, disrupt the election, even if he's not running for it, okay, for the presidency. And, you know, and then, you know, when I was thinking that, I was thinking, you know, remember that time when he was telling people during the pandemic that, you know, maybe they should drink bleach or something like that to get rid of it or something. I think he was saying that. It didn't sound like he was trying to be funny. Okay, it sounded like he was actually cogitating the possibility that maybe that's going to be a cure. Okay. And he did it so convincingly that some people actually went ahead and did and got killed doing it. Again, should he be held accountable for that? Because we held this girl accountable for talking her boyfriend into killing himself, right? Or basically encouraging him to kill himself. But we can't charge Trump with involuntary manslaughter by getting people killed because he convinced them to drink bleach. I mean, think about that. The most powerful man in the country, or in the world for that matter, says something offhand like that, and yet it's offhand. It doesn't resonate as offhand to some people who take it literally and get themselves killed. Who stands up for those people who thought that he was saying that as a possibility that maybe that could cure your COVID-19 if you got it? You know, who's going to say, well, he told me that I should do this? You know, of course they're dead, so who's going to speak for them? But who's going to come up and say, well, look, you told these people that they could do this. I mean, you didn't really say go ahead and drink it, but you did say that, you know, it could be a possibility that it could cure it. You know, people were reaching for answers. It was a desperate time. And he comes out and he makes these comments where people are crazy enough to actually go out and do it. No responsibility in the things that he says, and he never had any responsibility for things he says. He says things all the time that are off the cuff and insulting and everything, but he never answers for any of that stuff. Okay, and he don't even pay attention to gag orders that are imposed on him by judges. He don't give a fuck about what they tell him. Okay, he does as he pleases. So what controls his mouth? And shouldn't he get a lesson taught to him about what the importance of controlling the things that you say, you know, and just keep in mind that not everybody out there who hears what you say is going to understand what you're thinking when you say it. Okay, they're going to hear it in a whole different way. People misunderstand all the time. Whether or not this was a misunderstanding by these people that did what he was saying, I don't know, you know, because I can't understand the maggots out there, how they can, you know, accept everything that he does, whether it's a crime or not, and think that he's a good man. Okay, that's a whole other thing. But the fact is that, you know, he did putting that out there, and they never would have done that if he didn't say it. Nobody would ever went and bought bleach and tried to drink it if he hadn't have brought that up at a conference, a press conference, okay? Never would have said that. Plus, him going around not wearing a mask also encouraged the maggots to do the same, not to wear a mask. And how many of those poor people died, you know, during the COVID crisis? How many? You know, the Republicans were dropping dead all over the fucking place, okay? Christ, they had conservative radio talk shows in Florida, and I think they lost 3 or 4 of them down there because of that. All these people died following his lead, taking his example. Okay? Does he have any responsibility for that? I don't know. Like I said, Michelle Carter, they made her answer for it. You know, if Michelle Carter was Donald Trump and he was telling one of his buddies to kill himself, you know, would they have even bothered to take him to court? You know, double standard, I think, you know. But I think it's something we all should think about, you know, that there's a lot of crimes that are not going to be mentioned as we investigate him that like this would be something people should think about when you want to judge what kind of a person he is. I mean, we already know, but for those people who still ain't got it yet, okay, maybe you ought to think about that. Think about, you know, how he was as president for 4 years and how cavalier he was with his office and how he thought that, you know, I'm president, I'm a king, so I can do whatever the hell I want and everybody else can eat shit and die. Okay, I mean, that's essentially how he thought of things. You know, is that the kind of guy you want in there as office? I mean, what positive thing do you think a guy like that is going to contribute to this country? What one positive thing do you think is going to help you, help your family? Does he even know you exist? You know, have you talked to him on the phone? Have you wrote letters to him? Has he come to your house? I mean, what has this guy done to show you he gives a shit about you? You know? I'll leave that all up to you to decide. In the meantime, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great upcoming weekend. So please subscribe, comment, and I hope you all have a safe month of January. Okay, especially for your kids as they go back to school. And treat each other nice. Okay, be kind to one another, and hopefully the karma will come back in all of our favors. We certainly could use it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.